It's been a long time coming, but it is finally here, the Bugatti Chiron's successor. So what's it called? Well, this new Bugatti is called the Tourbillon, and Tourbillon is a mechanism put inside high-end watches to improve the accuracy. And you'll notice the theme of high-end watches continues through this car. So to start off, let's talk about the Bugatti Tourbillon's engine and performance. But before we talk about the engine in the Tourbillon, we need to talk about the engine in the Chiron. When the Chiron was launched, its 8-litre quad-turbocharged W16 engine produced 1500 horsepower and 1600 Nm of torque, which is significantly less than the Tourbillon. But its engine was actually 400mm shorter than this current V16. So now let's talk about the amazing performance figures from the Tourbillon. The Tourbillon has an 8.3 litre naturally aspirated V16 engine mated to a 25 kWh electric motor, allowing for a total power output of 1,800 brake horsepower and 2,300 Nm of torque, propelling it from 0 to 62 miles an hour in 2 seconds flat. In the Tourbillon, the electric motors produce 800 brake horsepower and the engine produces 1,000. The Tourbillon's top speed is limited to 380 km an hour, however, with the speed key provided, it rises to 445 km an hour. And it weighs in at less than 1,995 kilos. Now let's take a listen. As you can see, that speedo went up incredibly fast. The Tourbillon can go from 0 to 200 km an hour in less than 5 seconds, to 300 in less than 10 seconds, and to 400 in under 25 seconds. The genius behind the Tourbillon is Mate Rimac, and in 2021, before he became CEO of Bugatti Rimac, he went to the CEO of the Volkswagen Auto Group to present the idea of a V16 hypercar. When Mate presented the idea of the V16 hypercar, he was told it could not be longer than the Chiron. However, the Tourbillon has turned out to be 27mm longer. They had no choice but to make it longer because the gearbox is now mounted behind the engine and it has the 3 electric motors inside, and the engine itself is actually so much bigger. So, they had no choice, but they managed to overcome the issue by designing this phenomenal car. Mate was under a lot of pressure to make the new Bugatti all-electric, and that would have been very easy to just reskin the 2,000 horsepower Rimac Nevera. However, he realised Bugatti is all about pushing the limits, so what they did was develop a brand new engine, and rather than downsizing, they made it even bigger. And the reason this car isn't turbocharged is he didn't want to make it boring after his experience in the Ferrari SF90 Stradale. And that's not to say the 8-litre quad-turbocharged W16 in the Chiron is boring, it's just saying that the Chiron is already at its limit with the Super Sport and the Per Sport. And the really astonishing part of this engine is it revs to a mind-blowing 9,500 RPM, which is even higher than the 992 911 GT3 RS's. Each of the 3 electric motors can go up to 24,000 RPM, allowing them to have 400 horsepower each, which totals up to 1,200. However, as you know, as I previously said, the Tourbillon only has 800 horsepower from the electric motors, and this is because the battery restricts them to that 800. And I think it's now time to talk about the design. At the rear, you'll notice it's very reminiscent of one of the very famous Holy Trinity, the McLaren P1. However, Mate Rimac says it's, designed based on the La Voiture Noire, which is also a very special edition Bugatti. And inside you'll notice the interior panel is like clockwork. It's a very specially engineered glass dials, look insane. The Tourbillon starts at 3.8 million euros and the original Chiron started at 2.6 million euros. This is pretty crazy to think about when the highest end Chirons started at over 5 million euros, which was the Per Sport and the Super Sport. So that begs the question, what will be the starting price of some of the special edition Tourbillons? I reckon over 7 million euros. The doors of the Chiron weren't very special at all, and that's why the Tourbillon now has doors that open upwards, and I think this is an amazing feature that Mate Rimac has added to the new Bugatti, and I think this should continue to the future cars, because it just adds to that specialness of the vehicle, makes it seem like a 3.8 million euro vehicle, whereas, the Chiron, its doors could have been a lot more impressive than they were. And that windscreen wiper going through the centre almost reminds me of a Koenigsegg, However, it is used to continue that stripe that goes down the top. And that stripe down the top is very reminiscent of the Bugattis of the 1930s. And that's pretty cool how Matte's bringing back the heritage of Bugatti to the new hybrid hypercar. Up front is the iconic horseshoe grille, and that dates back to many years ago with the Type 35C. That's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe.